Y'all, it's Anna V, and you, my friend, are listening to the All-American Wing Shooting Podcast. I am a hunter, conservationist, mom of 2 girls I have raised in the outdoors, and a proud owner of a truck full of dogs. My passion is guiding you to confidence, sharing in tradition, and celebrating the true meaning of success in the field. Here we go. Welcome to another episode of All-American Wing Shooting Podcast. Today we have an iconic member of the hunting community and also my dear friend, Jim Copper. Welcome to the show.
Well, glad to be here, Anna. I could hardly wait.
We've been planning this for so long, and then we worked really hard this morning to make this happen, huh?
Yep. I'm glad you're getting right to it.
Well, Jim, you are the director of the Safari Club International Foundation, and you are the chair of finance and investment for the committee. That sounds like a lot of big, heavy decisions.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. I'm on 2 committees. I'm on the Conservation Committee, which is a lot of fun. We could talk about that later. But the Finance Committee is pretty much work because it relates to what I did for a living prior to being retired, which was manage money and run investments. And so we spend a lot of time work. Let me tell you, the foundation is absolutely on great ground in terms of budgeting. We scrutinize the budgets extremely well. We watch the investments extremely well. We're not aggressive at all. We're just holding the money together and making sure we get the growth that we need for the foundation to operate, and to make sure that everything's done in a safe and secure manner. So we're watching out for our contributors' money on a daily basis and trying to do the best we can.
Well, most of the people that listen to my podcast on a regular basis know that SCI is a soapbox that I talk about all the time. But if we have some new listeners, why don't you share what the foundation is about and how they work with SCI, and just give them an overview of this organization.
Yeah, well, there's two SCI's 2 organizations. SCI, which is a 501c4, and the foundation, which is a 501c3, which is technically a charitable operation. So what we do is support SCI, which is an advocacy organization, and SCIF cannot be because of the tax laws, but what we do is support SCI's advocacy with getting data and research relating to conservation and those kind of issues. So, for instance, we're now doing a leopard study in Africa. We're doing a grizzly bear study in British Columbia. And what the anti-hunters are all about is an emotional response. And our mantra is to develop scientific information to back our advocacy position. We're not just going in there saying, well, we really think this, we really think that. We're going in saying we really know this and we really know that because we've done the research. And we've got some really interesting research projects going on at the foundation now in terms of monitoring grizzly bears in British Columbia, a great piece of leopard research in finished Botswana, getting ready to go into another country, and probably Zimbabwe. And so when it comes down to determining what the quotas ought to be and that kind of thing, those decisions are based on good science. And so what the foundation does with the contributions received by our generous donors is to get in there and really research and come up with good numbers to promote wildlife conservation. And then a couple other things that we do. We promote education. We're trying to educate the public as to the value of hunting and conservation. So we've got a huge effort going on in that way. We also do a humanitarian effort, which trying to help the African community or the U.S. community where we have a need. For instance, in Africa, we have a blue bag program where we fill blue bags with the things that these kids need in these African communities. We provide everything from soccer balls to writing tablets. The last time I was over in Africa, we actually started a food school in Zimbabwe. We went to the headmaster of the school and said, do you need notebooks? Or said, yeah, we need all that stuff, but our kids are coming to school and passing out because they don't have anything to eat. There's a big drought going on in Zimbabwe at the time. And so the outfitter and I got together with the headmaster, and we started a food program at the school. So when we went over there to hunt, we went and gathered up the maize, the cabbage, and the spinach, and we actually went to the school, helped them establish the food program. And now these kids come to school. A lot of them come to school that weren't coming to school because they actually need to come there to get something to eat. So we increased attendance. The kids can get through a day of school and learn. And I learned as much as the kids. I took my son over there, and it was a really enlightening experience. So you can talk about all the hunting and all the trophies and all that, but when you really get down to it, all that activity affects those communities over there. That's the trackers, all those people that are working for the outfitters depend on that revenue to stay alive. And so you eliminate hunting, and you've eliminated a whole lot of the resources that goes on. So what we do in our humanitarian effort is try to bring that to the forefront.
That is a lot to say, but for you, I think you're the perfect example of how you used your skill sets in your day-to-day normal life, brought them into the hunting community, which is your passion, and made it better and just combined everything in your life. So that's kind of what I've told everybody is like, find where you fit, where you can bring value into the industry and use your skills. Like, we need all types of people. You think, okay, well, you were a wealth management agency, didn't you? I think you had your own. And you brought that into the conservation world to properly manage money. Not only do you manage other people's money, but you've been a massive contributor, and you have also brought in a big project that you get to focus on. And so it's not just about everybody else. Like, you're a participant in that. And as a hunter, you're able to be part of communities in Africa and part of conservation projects here in the States. And so it's not, even though it sounds like super overwhelming, it's so easy to have involvement in every aspect of what the foundation offers.
Getting involved is a huge part of my mantra, and I tell other people. I can give you an example, and you've heard some of it, but I hunted moose in British Columbia. And part of that moose hunting experience is every time we got out of a boat or off of a horse, we had to look for grizzly sign. And the outfitter never left the horse or the boat without a 45-70 at his side, knowing that there was a huge grizzly problem going on in British Columbia right now, because they have not hunted grizzlies in British Columbia since 2017. So now the outfitter tells me as soon as I hit the ground, he says, I used to see about 5 grizzlies eye to eye in a year. He said the day before I got there, he was going up and down the river. He saw 5 different grizzlies in one day. So he's concerned about the stone sheep population and the moose population and the domestic cattle population. All those things are endangered because of the oversupply of grizzlies. And so what's going on over there is his fear that we're not going to have hunting over there if we can't. We've got to manage the predators, but the predators are at the forefront of everybody's emotions. So what he told me, he says they've done a study in Alaska where they put cameras on 10 different grizzlies and trying to figure out what their carnivorous activity was. And they found that 3 of the 10 didn't have any carnivorous activity. They ate berries and that kind of thing, probably because of where they were located. But the other 7 averaged close to 40 calves a year. Basically, in the calving season, every bear ate a calf of some species every day. So with no hunting going on in British Columbia, how do we go about getting the data put together to prove to everybody, the Talcan Indian tribe up there already knows there's a problem, but how do we get the scientific information to convince the people that are going to make the decision that we need to manage these predators? So I came back to the foundation's board meeting, made the case that this is a study that we ought to do, put some of my own money in there to seed the study. The outfitter that I was dealing with matched it, and so we had a really head start, and we got that going. So that project is underway right now. We'll probably be trying to capture some bears and collar them this fall, put the cameras on to do the like study that was done in Alaska, and basically prove to the people that make the decision that we've got an issue and that we need to solve it. And this would, if we could get a regulated, legal bear season going in British Columbia, it would be a huge victory for wildlife conservation. Not just for hunters.
Right.
It's going to be more stone sheep, more moose, farmers not having to deal with predation on their calves, all that kind of thing. It's just common sense, but you've got to prove what the issue is before you go in and solve it.
Well, being part of SCI, we get to meet so many types of hunters. So this whole time I was like, well, I know Jim is this big game guy that goes to Africa, and then we completely bonded on a different aspect. I had no idea that you were a bird dog guy, and that I think has become more of a common conversation at SCI, especially at convention. There's so many wing shooters there, and we finally got to hunt together this last year.
Yeah, that was great. And of course, we've had a kind of a mutual experience with my bird dog. I could relate to that. You're now starting to see at the SCI convention some bird shooting plantations, and it's gaining popularity with the big game hunters. Mm-hmm. And from my aspect, I'm getting old. So I'm getting tired of 16-hour flights to Johannesburg to hunt, and I want to be able to do things on a daily basis. Well, years ago, I had a couple of really good pointers, and in my mind, there was nothing more fun than walking in front of a bird dog to flush a covey of quail. Nothing could match it. But I was here, I had 2 mutts at home that are my wife's favorites, and we start talking about a third dog, and I have to duck when my wife swings at me. So what we need to do is find a really good bird dog that's also a great house dog. Mm-hmm. And I really wanted an English pointer. English pointers are not known to be house dogs.
I know, when you told me that, I was like, ooh, like I could guarantee a specific dog, but it was not in that category.
Yeah, well, and you've been known the German short hairs, and I thought that's where I'm going to have to end up, because I'm never going to find a pointer mm-hmm. that will be comfortable in the house. Because any pointer I've had before would have got me a divorce in a hurry. But you referred me to a guy thinking you're probably referring me to a guy that's got a short hair.
No, it was for a lab. Like, I was like,
he trains labs as well.
Yeah.
Mike Vaughn is his name. He lives up in Wisconsin. And he says, I think I've got a dog that might suit this guy based on what he's saying. And he sent me a video, and it's a English pointer, white and orange English pointer, 2 years old, basically a puppy. And this dog, he did a magnificent job of training of birds. I've hunted birds over him numerous times over the last season, but the dog is a great house dog. Matter of fact, he got cut the other day. He got a gash, no big deal. But we had to take him to the vet and get sewed up. And I think I'm going to take him to the vet and sew him up. And my wife is standing there and says, "You're not going without me," because she is in love with this dog. So that, I mean, it couldn't have worked out any better. I give you credit for that, for referring me to the right place, and Mike Vaughn for training a great dog. But the dog's name is Ice, and he spends, when he's not sleeping, he's spending his time in my lap or chasing birds. You turn him loose, and he's as active as any pointer I ever had. Bring her in the house, and she's just like my old bulldog who sleeps.
It's so amazing to watch how these dogs, they end up matching their owners. And I don't know how it happens, but it's not the first time that I've recommended, a dog, even within SCI. And, I'm not a pointer expert by any means. So I was kind of nervous when you're like, oh, I want an LHU. I was like, ooh, that's a big motor dog for really what you're asking for. And then we finally got to get into the field in December. So you had her like 6 months. And she quartered so perfect. Her range was amazing. She matched your pace. She checked in with you. It was amazing to watch how you guys had bonded so quickly because you got her in the summer. So it wasn't like you got her in the middle of bird season and was able to just hit the road running. But yeah, it was like she found her perfect home, and it was so amazing to see that in the field and to get to share that hunt with you guys.
Well, and we had a great SCI experience because we went down to Mossy Pond, and the environment there has got a great big common room where we eat and couches and TVs and so on, and the living quarters are surrounding it. And so they let you take your dog into the living quarters there.
Yeah, everybody had their dogs there just running around like one big happy family.
Had 5 or 6 other guys that had labs, and so you got 6 dogs all running around together.
Yep.
And getting along fine. And when we went duck hunting, the gal there at Moss Pond said, well, let me take care of your dog while you're duck hunting. And she let the dog out, and that's the other thing that I thought with a pointer, because my 2 dogs by 2 months, I just let them out the door, and when they're ready to come in, they come to the door and bark at the door and come back in. So now I'm not going to be able to do this with a pointer. I turn a pointer loose, I'm going to be looking in the next county.
Right. You better put her collar on before you let her out.
Don't have to do anything. You let her out, she goes nowhere. She runs around the house, doesn't get more than 30 yards away from the house, and when you call her, she's right there right now.
She is
totally trustworthy.
Such a Velcro dog to you, too. I mean, she's a little baby. She was probably the most spoiled dog there, because if she could not keep you in her sight, that dog went straight to whining. Where is my Jim?
Yep. And I see on Facebook and Instagram a lot of SCI guys. One guy that both you and I know just got himself a great-looking Brittany, and he's really proud showing the pictures of the dog sleeping on the couch there next to him. I thought, the guy's in for 10 years of absolute ecstasy.
Yeah. It is amazing. I love that the bird dog community is growing within SCI. I've always felt included and celebrated because of my passion for the advocacy side within SCI, but then to get more involved with the foundation and see what they're doing, all the conservation projects that you guys do, especially, with habitat and all the things, it benefits all the species. So there's such a place within SCI for wing shooters. And I know you're on the foundation side, but I would say for advocacy, the biggest thing that I think is overlooked in the wing shooting community is how hard SCI fights for our rights. And the organizations that we are typically involved with are strictly habitat organizations. And so I just tried to always share with my fellow wing shooters that there is such a need for their presence and support at SCI. I don't think anybody talks about the lead ban and how that has shook the Europe, and especially in the UK area, and how it started in California. And it's a big situation that SCI is dealing with on a regular basis. Now that Tater's gotten old enough, she's joined the SCTP, which is essentially like a travel team for clay shooting. And we see hundreds of kids shooting every single weekend. And in Georgia, a lot of that is overlapped with hunters. These kids love to shoot, and they hunt during the season, and they shoot clays all through the spring and summer. And they don't have any idea what goes on behind the scenes of their sport. And if we were to have a lead ban all of this would go away, because that is the clay round. And it's a really scary thing. So as you and I love to talk about the dogs and stuff, like, what would be the purpose of having our dogs if we couldn't shoot with them? You know, that's what they live for. And a lot of our games are lead based. So I don't know. I really would like to do more. I don't know how to get that out for, I guess, for SCI to say, like, the wing shooting community is a lost community when they talk about the efforts of SCI, because we don't really get the collaboration with our habitat organizations to share that message. And it's impossible for me to do alone.
Yeah, and just back that up. I'm just learning now that a lot of the schools right around here where I live have got clay sports teams and are very, very good at it, and a lot of girls participating. And I think if you want to have hunting advocacy and shooting sports advocacy, you need to get the girls involved as well as the guys. And you're seeing that happen. And when you introduce shooting sports into the high schools, you're breaking down that resistance to firearms and hunting in general. And you saw a surge several years ago about not wanting to support even the bow hunting community. And got that squashed. I think SCI did have a big role in that. And I think that through your advocacy and your participation in SCI and people like me, and I think that FCI will be on board to help promote the shooting sports, because the shooting sports leads directly, it's such a tie into hunting, and the whole thing just wraps up together. So
I know, and I just keep sharing with everybody, like, just come to convention, even if you can only come for one day to Nashville. It's life-changing to see the support of people that hunt all different species all around the world come together and work together. So, like, from my background, I've only been involved in conventions and stuff with people just like me. And I saw massive growth that I didn't even know that I needed when I joined SCI, because hearing about your community involvement in Africa, South Africa is a huge, growing wing shooting destination. So now we've got a couple trip plans starting next year. I've worked with an outfitter there for like a year and a half, maybe longer, to put together 3 consecutive trips, back-to-back years, to take the world record book of all waterfowl and upland in South Africa. And I'm so excited about that. I mean, it was like a dream trip. I've been able to travel the U.S., from New York to California multiple times, and there's so many species here to take, but I kind of want to do it everywhere, and then to have the experience of the community in South Africa that we don't have here, how you guys work with outfitters and the humanitarian efforts and stuff. I do believe that takes your hunting experience to another level, and then when you come back to the States, I think it makes you feel so much more gratitude for our rights, maybe even fuel you a little bit more to fight for them.
yeah, that's true. We're all going to stay in it together here, and I think if we just keep spreading the word, we'll get it done.
So you're involved in important decisions all the time. Like, what would be your number one thing of issues outside of the grizzly bears that you would like to share with our community? Like, just educate us on your day-to-day.
Well, my day-to-day with the foundation, you're saying?
Yeah.
And looks like I'm getting ready to run for my second term on the board, and I think that'll probably be successful. And so many issues come up, and trying to fit everything that we can within the budget that we have. So, our development people, Jordan Hassler and Matthew Taylor and Marty, do a great job of helping bring money in. And what we need to sort out when we're sitting at a board meeting is what our priorities are. And for a while, I think years ago, everybody that came to us with a $5,000 conservation project or something, but we really needed to get projects that were, instead of a mile wide, we needed to get them a mile deep. So we really have 4 or 5 projects going on that are in-depth projects. We're really seriously researching what the issues are. The grizzly bear, the leopard. For instance, about in Colorado, they had a ballot issue that they were going to eliminate mountain lion and bobcat hunting. Well, when you can't manage the predators, you've lost your ability to manage the population in general, and without management, it goes away. So SCI and the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation kind of teamed up and were the big input, along with some others, and got that initiative beaten badly. But we know where they're headed. So the next move is they're going to go into Texas and try to do the same thing. So we've already started a mountain lion study in Texas to, again, verify what the numbers are, and instead of dealing with the emotional response to hunting a mountain lion, we're going to deal with the scientific approach. How many do we have? What areas has a lot of them? What areas don't have a lot of them? How do we regulate it so we can manage the predators without endangering the predators? And that'll be a big project. It'll cost a lot of money, but we're gonna get it done. So
what do you say about addressing the fact that maybe the mainstream society just thinks this is the job of like the DNR?
I don't know. I mean, what you've got 3 segments of society. You got the anti-hunters that you're never going to change their mind about anything. I got a few relatives that are like that. I've had a few heated conversations, but I try to keep it cool. And then you got the hunter side, and you're not going to change our minds about much of anything either. I mean, we understand that hunting is conservation. Mm-hmm. But you got that 80% in the middle, or 70% in the middle, that don't hunt but aren't necessarily anti-hunting. And so our target at SCI needs to have those people be kind of neutral and understand that hunting has a place. If they want to see animals in the wild, whether it be in Africa or the U.S., going to need to at least be neutral and support hunting, because if hunting goes away, the animals go away. I mean, people don't understand that, and it seems counterintuitive, but it's very true. Every time I go to Africa, the Rotary group wants me to give a program, and I spend most of the time telling them about the value of hunting, showing them that, we do pictures of hunting and that kind of thing, but I talk about SCI's role, and the fact that if you go to Kenya today, they banned hunting in 1977. Mm-hmm. There are no animals in Kenya except on the national parks, and that's exactly what happens when they ban hunting. Is it goes away and the animals go away. So, and our whole civilization will disappear if we don't have the basic food chain still intact.
Okay, so talking about that, I had the craziest conversation a couple weeks ago, which we kind of get used to because you and I are both very vocal about our beliefs and recruiting involvement, right? So I met this lady for the first time, and she proceeds to tell me that she has been a vegetarian since like the age of 6. Let's say she's 50. So her entire life she's been a vegetarian, but she wants to go hunting with me, and she wants to learn about hunting so that she can provide for the rest of her family that are meat eaters and stuff. And it was like, that does not happen very often. And I know that my face was like, what the heck did she just say? And I'm going to need that on repeat, because the majority of the time when you meet somebody that says I'm a vegetarian, they are always against us. But to have somebody that was motivated to learn, that personally wasn't going to benefit from it, but wanted to provide for their family, was a whole nother level that I had never experienced before.
Yeah, I can't think of there's a gal on Instagram. I can't think what her website is. It's something about she's something omnivore, and she talks about, and she makes a great case that if you're a vegetarian lifetime, you are endangering yourself. I mean, she makes a great case for that, and a great case. She's not a hunt, and she's actually against trophy hunting. She's not anti-hunting in general, but has a real resistance to what she calls trophy hunting. But she's a big-time beef eater, and basically her view is you're actually crazy if you get on this vegan train, that you're doing yourself harm over a long period of time. Brings a lot of evidence to the table.
Well, that's so controversial there and contradictory. I bet her favorite beef would be considered a trophy cow.
Yeah. Interesting that the Rocky Mountain Sheep Foundation did a video, which I thought was absolutely great, and they were talking about trophy hunting, but they never used the word. They call it selective harvest.
Because that's what trophy hunting is.
That's what it is. It's selective harvest. If you're looking, man is the ultimate predator. And when you take man out of the equation, everything gets screwed up. So man can regulate himself. When you take man out, like when you take man out, you can't hunt grizzlies in British Columbia. Now you have the apex predator that's a grizzly. Grizzlies don't regulate themselves. They do whatever they want to.
Yeah.
So if man is at the top of the apex predator, he can regulate himself. And so that's what needs to happen, is that, and so, trophy hunting, I mean, maybe we don't use the word because it offends some people, but it is selective harvest. So you're taking the oldest males out of the system that are beyond breed. You're not harming the population. You're not killing females. You're not killing the bucks or the boars that are in their prime breeding season. So it's all, by regulating us as apex predators, we can manage the wildlife. Take us out of the equation, and the next level of apex predators is not going to regulate themselves and are going to create an imbalance. And this is not a world like we had in 1700. This is a world full of people. And if you create a lot of human bear conflicts and human mountain lion conflicts, you're going to have big problems. So you need to know where the animals are, how you handle it, and making sure that the bears stay in the area that are beneficial for the bears and not shoved out into areas that's not beneficial to them because nobody's hunting them. And that's, they've proven that, like they had a bear season this year in Louisiana, that Maria Davidson was just critical in getting that done. Another great SCI project. They now have a bear season in Louisiana so that they can regulate bears on a sane basis. And hopefully they'll come out with a video, because that one of the 10 licenses that they let go to shoot a bear was like a 13-year-old kid.
I saw that.
And I think they've done a video on it, and we need to put that out and talk about how that works. Because a lot of what we're not getting done is getting to the public the results of what we're doing and what we're trying to do. We have a big conversation about that going on right now at the foundation board. Yeah, we're doing all this work with grizzlies, we're doing all this work with leopards, but how do we get this information out to the non-hunting public? And we're working on that pretty hard. SCI has hired some people that are into marketing what we're doing, and I think you'll see a change in that over the next couple of years.
You know what the biggest answer is for that? It's for people who care about hunting, who are hunters, but who are not involved to get involved. And maybe it's not at your level. I mean, you take on a ton of responsibility, but we have some of the best local chapters across the country, even worldwide. Easy to get plugged in and share. If all of us that cared about our bubbles, right? I'm strictly a wing shooter, and you do everything. There's people, out west that are friends, they're all big game hunters. If everybody just took their little bubble, because our message is the same. I mean, I'm going to promote what the foundation's doing, even if it doesn't apply to wing shooting, because it's all necessary, and it works for the greater good of our community. And if we built stronger, more vocal, local chapters sharing the message, it would spread so much quicker, because people are on social media these days. They're on the internet for entertainment, and social media is just, if you don't keep people in the first 6 seconds, they're gone. It's so hard to tell this big story in less than 10 seconds.
Yeah, it's interesting. One of the things I've been doing, and my wife is giving me heck for it, but every time, like I had a guy come out and work on my security system a couple of months ago, and he was looking at the trophies we had on the wall, and he was a hunter. I said, you don't take tips, do you? He said, no, we're not allowed to. I said, but you're going to get one today. I said, you're going to be a member of SCI.
Oh, that's great.
Just give me your name, address, and your email address. And I did that with my cardiologist. My cardiologist is now a member of SCI. Everybody I'm on the Wild Turkey Committee here, where we do a lot of stuff with the youth shooting and that kind of stuff. And I've bought all of them a membership in SCI. I said, you need to go to the SCI convention at least once. It'll change your entire outlook of how you think about hunting and what's going on. I said, and it'll be one of the most entertaining days you ever spend in your life. So you just got to keep promoting that stuff. And at the chapter, you're absolutely right, at the chapter level, we need to recruit all these people that are just deer hunters or just bird hunters that think SCI doesn't relate to them, because the reputation of SCI is a bunch of rich people going to Africa. And that's not the case anymore. And we've got to get that out there.
He says that the majority of the members of SCI are deer, ducks, and turkey people. And it doesn't mean that you don't do other things, but at the end of the day, I mean, that's who we are here in the States, and it's a wonderful life, and so many more opportunities come. I know that how Denise Welker's brought together Women Go Hunting, and to walk into a room without knowing very many people, and all these ladies are hardcore hunters in their own little world, and we specifically go to this one event just to meet other people. And that's very rare for women to break out of their bubble and go do that. And it's become my favorite morning of convention, because you just never know who you're going to meet, what you're going to get invited to do, and just other people's own passions. Sue Tidwell wrote a book. She's from, I think they live in Utah, and she was a non-hunter, went on an African safari with her husband, and became so passionate about conservation and what's going on there. She's written a book, and she shares about it, and I'm like, I never would have met her if it hadn't have been for this women's group opening up opportunity to meet other people. And so I think that's what SCI does the best at, is just bringing so many different people together to get massive projects done. And I don't want, people in small town life. I mean, I live probably in the worst place ever to do what I do in North Georgia and be this wing shooter. We don't have birds here. And I still have a strong Georgia chapter, and we're friends, and we live our lives together, and we share about what's going on, and it's just really exciting to be a part of that community. So I really do hope that people don't sell themselves short. There's so much to get involved with and make a difference and take it as big as you really want to.
Yeah, and I think that middle group that we're talking about, though, that aren't anti and aren't hunters, the women in hunting thing is huge to this effort, because they just aren't exposed to it like the males in our population. And so I think that the effort that you guys are making towards the women in hunting effort is just, and I've told Laird that, the CEO, that you absolutely need to keep expanding on that project. If we want to have hunting 50 years from now, you're going to have the female gender behind it. So.
Well, thank you for your support, and thank you for your time this morning. I always love when we get together and talk shop.
Well, you'll have to bring your dogs up and come up and hunt with me.
I am not going to miss this year. We will be there.
All right.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Jim.
The dawn's finally breaking as I leave this sleepy town. The sun is slowly rising and the fog is on the ground.